I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars betting against Jim Cramer. Just kidding. But I know a lot of people would like to say that. He gets a hard time. Question is, does he deserve it? We're going to find out who he is and some of his performance history right now. Jim Cramer is a media figure. He's been given a hard time because he's made some pretty tough calls in history. And now there's a bit of a meme going around. And it's basically saying that if you bet against him, you will make money. And as a matter of fact, there has been an ETF that has been created that's the inverse Jim Cramer ETF. So we're going to take a look at how that is actually performing, and we're going to take a look at some of his other performance measures, some calls he's made over history, and we're going to even look at who he is. So firstly, we actually have a little bit of data here. Jim Cramer, this is on Investopedia, born February 10th, 1955, TV host and personality of CNBC's Mad Money. Former hedge fund manager, 87 to 2000, earned bachelor's degree in government in 1977, graduating magna cum laude. That's a big deal. And Juris Doctor degree at Harvard Law School in 1984. I know nowadays the Ivy League schools don't have such a good reputation, but if you get your Juris Doctorate at Harvard Law School in 1984, there is something to be said for that. He is not stupid. He was a successful reporter, covered the Ted Bundy murders. Of course, that's nothing to do with finance, but obviously he is a media personality, right? A little bit deeper into some of his data, and I got this right off Wikipedia. So in 1984, he was a Goldman sales and trader, and in 87 he actually opened up a hedge fund. He self-reports that he did rather well, and he retired in 2001, and some interesting things happened before 2001, right before he retired. He actually bought a lot of tech stocks, or at least recommended them, in 2000. The dot-com bust was shortly thereafter, so perhaps that did not go so well for him. Another big hit that he's taking in his reputation is that in 2008 he recommended buying Bear Stearns, and he has talked about that being a big mistake in his career because Bear Stearns, for those of you who may not remember, actually fell apart right around that time. That was one of the first large financial institutions to fall apart, and it sparked the 2008 Great Financial Crisis. Although Bear Stearns really, I think, was more of a sacrificial lamb, and any of the banks at the time could have fallen apart. Okay, so Jim Cramer's been around for a while. We're going to take a little bit more look at some of his more recent performance. There's an article here, Jim Cramer switches stances, now says Bitcoin is topping out. And it's really not much more than what we just said, though. He's kind of saying, Bitcoin's going to do well. He now suggests it might be topping out. That's all he said, basically, right? What's interesting about that is that this was on the 9th. It wasn't that much longer. It was, 2 days later that the ETF was released? According to this article here, Cramer's recent assertion that Bitcoin may be topping out aligns with his historical skepticism towards the cryptocurrency. Recently, his previous bullish stance on Bitcoin was followed by a subsequent price drop the next day, adding an intriguing layer to the inverse Cramer theory. Okay, so we're actually going to talk a little bit about the inverse Cramer theory. But first of all, we're going to have to give Jim a little bit of credit here because Bitcoin actually followed more or less what he said, at least in the short term. If we look at the chart here, on the 9th when he made that call, Bitcoin actually started to fall a bit. It did raise back up, and then the raise back up was to do with the ETF announcement. So this was the fake ETF announcement. Those of you who followed me understood that someone supposedly broke into the SEC's Twitter and said that the ETF was approved, and it actually happened here on the 11th of January, and it pushed price up very high, and then there was an arbitrage play where because of GBTC's discount, price actually sloughed off pretty hard right here. And that might have been what sparked it, but the GBTC discount arbitrage play may have been what caused the beginning of that sell-off. However, it doesn't mean that it caused all of this sell-off. And to be honest, nobody's ever really going to know unless there's somebody who knows who caused the sell-off, and then nobody besides that person will know unless that person told them. That's just how the market works. So now Bitcoin is down in the low 40,000 range when a lot of people thought it would be in the 50s or higher after the ETF announcement. I personally have been skeptical and have been saying this may be a sell the news event, at least in the short term. Now, it may be that Bitcoin does climb a little bit higher after this, but that remains to be seen. That's just going to have a lot to do with, market forces, and we're going to see what happens shortly. So we do have to give Jim some credit here because he was correct on at least the short term that there was a sell-off. It happened right after he said it, and then that may have had somewhat to do with the fake ETF announcement, of course, but it did happen, and then it happened right after the real ETF announcement as well. So given his connections, he may have known something, or he may have just made the right call. And sometimes you can make the right call and it just happens to be right. Other times you can make the right call and it generally is right. One thing you can look at is a history of his trades, and that would be in the inverse Cramer ETF for the most recent history. So we can look in the screen here and see now, what is the inverse Cramer? How CNBC host accidentally created a trading strategy. Picture a bumbling anti-hero who unintentionally lays a path of gold with his off-mark predictions. Enter stage right Jim Cramer. His ill-fated crypto prophecies have paved the way for some surprising success in the cryptocurrency realm. In this twist-laden narrative, we delve into the enchanting world of inverse Cramer trading and the unexpected boons it has brought to investors. It is a strange tale where every no is a resounding yes. Okay, that's a tad bit hyperbolic. He actually doesn't always make bad calls, as we just saw with this top-out conversation. Now, of course, right now, if Bitcoin were to start pulling back upwards, then his top-out call may be incorrect. I'd have to look into whether or not he thought it was a short-term top-out, whether or not it was a top-out for a higher time frame. I'm going to guess he meant higher time frame. I'm going to guess he meant that it was going to top out and not come back up for several months or longer. Here we are in this article, Cramer's Crypto Fumble. Our beloved anti-hero Cramer has a record of great misfires, especially regarding cryptocurrency. Case in point, when Bitcoin danced at the 17,000 mark in early 2023, Cramer waved a red flag. We can move forward. We know that it went up from there. Let's see here. Cramer's clash with Ethereum, a stumble or strategy. Cramer's tenuous relationship with cryptocurrencies is well documented, but his erratic Ethereum stance particularly stands out. In 2021, he advocated for Ethereum, praising it. However, he shifted gears in 2023, painting a bleak picture for the crypto market during a market dip in early January, recommending his views exit the market. Investors followed the inverse Cramer trend, seized this opportunity to buy Ethereum, leading to a handsome profit when Ethereum bounced back from its momentary dip during Q1 of 2023. As we know, 2023 was a stellar year for crypto. Cramer's crypto missteps aren't limited to Bitcoin. Solana blockchain platform, touted as an Ethereum killer, caught his ire. Once valued at $66 billion, it plunged to $8 billion, attracting Cramer's scorn. But Cramer's scathing criticisms only seem to add fuel to the crypto fire, and many have profited from adversely following his advice. Okay, here's the thing about Solana. If you followed me, you will find that I actually went ahead and I didn't recommend anything. I don't do that, but I did say that I think Solana will do well, and I said it privately to my private clients, and I've even said that publicly on the Rogue show, and this is back when it was below $20. When FTX fell apart, Solana took a hit because FTX was put on the Solana blockchain. Well, here's the thing about it. Solana's fundamentals never changed. This was an FTX problem, not a Solana problem. So when Solana got sold off, probably because people got scared and probably to take some profits, I recognized a very, very good opportunity, and I talked about it, and a lot of my private group people went ahead and did their own research based on that and made some decisions and now have made a lot of money. So just something to bear in mind. Okay, let's actually take a look, though, and see if Jim really earned the ire of everybody, right? We can take a look at the inverse Cramer portfolio, the inverse Cramer tracker, and we'll find here that, yeah, since inception, it's down 12% according to this. Okay, so the inverse Cramer is actually losing, according to this. Year to date, it's down 4%. Since inception, it's actually down 12%. So if you look at the actual numbers, it appears that Cramer is ahead, and he's ahead by 12% if you were to take the inverse of this trade. Be real careful if you're going to give somebody a lot of crap, because it might be that you might be wrong. Now, it might also be that when you look at his entire history, this inverse ETF does not cover that. There's some major losses that we talked about earlier, 2008, .com bust, recommending Bear Stearns, things like that. And it seems like with crypto, we just talked about with Solana, with Ethereum, those were major, major busts that are not reflected, I don't think, in this Cramer tracker. But if you want to look at the numbers, the actual inverse Cramer is behind, which means the Cramer is ahead. Has he earned that label? Has he earned the trash talk? I would say yes, but I would also be careful because he might not be as bad as we think. But when it comes to crypto recommendations, I don't listen to him. That's all I got. This is the Cowboy. Come check us out. Do the like, subscribe, follow the YouTube. We don't bug you with liking and subscribing aside from a couple of graphics. We go straight into the content in these videos. So do it now. Like, subscribe, follow, do all that YouTube stuff, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, thanks for stopping by. We hope you enjoyed the show. Come visit us over at our website. You see it on the screen right there. There's also YouTube, Twitter, aka X, TikTok, Rumble. You can zap that QR code or take you straight to the website. I am very active over on Twitter/X. Also, we are live. That's Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. EST, right up to 9 a.m. EST. Come stop by, talk to us on YouTube, ask us questions. We're happy to help you out for free. Hope to see you there.